Hello, welcome to Eat This, Drink That. We got another great episode with Steve doing a how-to today. And we have Ali Khan, of course, with us, and I'm Ryan. So, Steve, what is your drink that for today?
What's up, gents? How are you? So, we're going to dive into an insider cocktail. And we're going to do some back-to-backs on this, too, because you can play around with the Negroni. So, insiders, and when I mean insiders, I'm talking bartenders, people in food and beverage, chefs. They always have, or you might hear about, insider drinks. Fernet, Amaro shots. That's a big insider drink.
Fernet always gets pushed on me by bartenders.
Chenin Blanc is the insider wine for a lot of people.
That's good to know. Yeah. Okay.
Negroni,
Fernet, let's be honest. Everything else you said was licorice, weird stuff.
Yeah.
But, that's actually something like kind of palatable. Well, but go on. I'm not
bitter.
judging.
We're still going bitter. Maybe it says something about the insiders that we all like bitter drinks because the Negroni is the insider's cocktail.
Listerine. Continue.
Yes. So Negronis are super easy. We always talk about how to make cocktails. You want to have 4 or 5 cocktails in your back pocket, 3 or 4 ingredients max. Super simple. Nothing could be easier than the Negroni. It's 1 to 1 to 1. Okay. So the
is that why bartenders like it? Because it's, let's be honest, you tell, especially back in and my wife would say this because she bartended in the 90s into the early 2000s. She would be like, if someone back then, before the craft cocktail mixology movement, if someone said, hey, can I have a mojito? They'd be like, oh yeah, we're out of everything because it's a craft kind of work.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah. Well, where I bartended, it was way before the craft or the mixology explosion, but we were already doing, fresh hand squeezed juices for cocktails to order. We'd have to fresh squeeze orange juice.
I bow down.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm not lazy.
It was a bar that they expected some things were pre-batched, but not everything. We pre-batched orange juice and grapefruit juice every morning because you can't squeeze that to order. But fresh lime, fresh lemon, that was to order. So
basically what you're saying is the real people put in the work. Bottom line. All right, Negroni away.
Yeah, Negronis are super easy. Super easy. A base Negroni, just straight up Negroni. Gin, Campari, sweet vermouth, 1 to 1 to 1. Now, one of the other things we always talk about with how to make cocktails on our show, don't use crap. You're not buying Beefeater, Bombay, $10 gin. I'm using St. George from San Francisco.
What? Yeah. Seriously? I'll just say it. What the fuck? Yeah. Clearly I know nothing because I thought Beefeater was okay. I mean, my bad. What the hell is that stuff?
So
Show me that bottle again.
St. George, and they have 3 different variations of their gin. I'm using the dry Rye Gin today. As you know, even with vodkas, I like rye-based spirits. This is the most juniper forward of all their gins. They do another one called Terroir, another one called Botanavir, I think. No, Botanavir.
Ivanhoe's best friend.
Botanavir. So they use a lot of local California ingredients, especially in Terroir. They use like Douglas fir, California, this and that. This is the most juniper and spicy forward, so it makes a really good Negroni. So St. George, dry rye, gin, heavy juniper.
Can I just ask you for a quick 101 about gin, because I'm a dummy? I've heard the word juniper before. That's like a tree, right?
That's a berry. It's a very spicy berry. So London dries are heavy forward juniper, like straight up juniper. Gin is just a neutral grain spirit that has been infused with spices and herbs. So the traditional London Dry is juniper, but you can use all kinds of things. The Hendrix, I think maybe
I used to mess with that.
Late aughts, Hendrix came on the scene, got a bunch of people back into gin. That's cucumber based. So it had this really floral, light flavor to it. It was not heavy juniper. This is rip roaring juniper and spice. So we're going
of like the very common gins. I remember Bombay Sapphire having a very, very distinctive taste.
Yes, that's juniper. Yep, that's juniper. That's a very good gin, Bombay Sapphire. That's more, I think with the lower gins, they always taste hot to me. So the alcohol is what really shoots through the flavor profile. That Bombay Sapphire is more relaxed, even though it's still very juniper driven. Then you go Campari. This is your bitter portion. So like an Amaro, although this is an aperitivo.
That's like a wine, right? It's made from grape?
Yeah, no, this is neutral grain spirit and then a whole bunch of things added to it. Different
Campari's booze too.
Yeah, it's booze. Yeah, I think it's 20% ABV. And then sweet vermouth. It's straightforward. I use quality vermouth, Carpano Antica. You'll notice it's sealed back up because you don't use the whole bottle. I always use 375s. I don't go through a ton of vermouth, so I don't need a 750. Fresher is better when it comes to vermouth. So that's why it's sealed up and it's in the fridge. So let's
vacuum in. Is that a vacuum in?
Yes, it is. You could build this in the glass, but I do not build my cocktails in the glass like the old fashioned. I like to build it in a tin separately that has ice in it. You chill it down, very little dilution, and then strain it over a rocks glass with ice. So, and that's just my preference. I don't like building cocktails. I want to stir them. I want to mix them. I want to bring the temperature down slightly. We're only going to stir for 10, 15 seconds. I don't want...
You need your centrifuge. I understand.
Yes.
You're also going through more ice. But what's ice to Greer? He's just throwing away. So how much that ice cost you?
1 to 1 to 1. Super simple. 1 ounce gin.
Folks, it is
pouring this into the
11:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, it's football Saturday, so it's okay. It's okay. I mean, you can smell the juniper and the spice as soon as you open this. This is...
What is that called? I'm going to have to look that up. I might have to pick them up.
I'm serious. I feel like these guys are making the best gin, period. St. George.
Steve, what's the BAC on that one? Or what's what proof
is it? This is 40. Yeah.
40.
No, I'm sorry, 45. I'm off.
Okay.
So this is not
BAC?
Yeah.
Like
your blood alcohol level.
You just blew a St. George.
ABV.
I sure did.
ABV.
I sure did.
So
sorry.
Now you just go
ABV.
1 to 1. So 1 portion of Carpano Antica, sweet vermouth.
We're talking an ounce, right?
Yep.
What are you doing? Okay.
Everything is 1 ounce, 1 to 1 to 1. Fresh bottle of Campari. You can do a lot.
Down? I'd love to see this. I like to see booze go in the glass.
You could do a lot with Campari in your house. So always have Campari. Makes a lot of great cocktails.
So Crosby, I'll ask you this. Don't you think that's a tall order saying, should you have Campari? I feel like those are those bottles that you're like, oh, this has been lying around since 2005. You know what I mean? I just don't go through it.
Well, I mean, whenever I would try and build a bar, I wouldn't get that stuff. I would just get the booze, and then like my bar would be gone in like a week. So it's probably good to have that. So it'll definitely be there for a while.
Stirring, and I'm only going to stir 10, 15 seconds. I'm bringing the temperature down. That is it. Let's strain. It's a very pretty color. So in Campari, they use some sort of bitter orange. So
wait, a bitter orange?
Where do you get a bitter orange peel is in there. There's a lot of things in Campari. So because of that, I'm using an orange for garnish. So you'll
I
notice the color. Color is
Uh-huh.
this beautiful orangey red.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had better color descriptors because there's probably a word for that color. I am just peeling
Burnt orange, we call it. In the
burnt
industry.
orange. So I'm just doing a little garnish of orange and twist it, throw it in.
So you're picking up the
Wonderful.
notes. So let me ask you, I've had Negronis. Whenever I've had Negronis, it's just been like, oh, this is different. Or someone literally poured me one at a party, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to say no.
Oh, Jesus.
What
It's so good.
It is 11:30 in the morning.
I know. It's okay.
When I had the Negroni, it's obviously got, and I don't want to assume that the gin they used had a lot of juniper in it, but it's got that kind of like aromatic-y. I mean,
Yes.
I know I kept saying Listerine, but it's got that like winter greeny exoticness kind of thing. Like, what drives the flavor of Negroni? Is it the Campari?
It is the Campari.
Okay.
And the Campari has an Amaro light flavor to it. So that is the bitter side. So if you've ever had a shot of Fernet, all the Amaros have a very bitter flavor profile to it. It can be described as medicinal, which can then be described as Listerine. There is a slight medicinal nature to it, but with the sweet vermouth is rounding out the flavor profile. And then with the heavy juniper gin, you're getting all this kind of spice that runs linear through all of that, kind of right through the train of bitter. And that balance comes from those three ingredients.
So I kind of want to dissect this because Negroni is it's unforgettable when you taste one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's got a signature taste to it. And yes, I might be throwing your recipe in the meat grinder.
No.
But if you're trying to ease into the concept of Negroni, is it possible to ease up on the Campari? You know what I mean?
You know what you could do? You
Yeah.
could add more sweet vermouth just to kind of round out that palate. Jump it up to 1.5 ounces on the Carpano Antica.
So the vermouth could kind of like mellow it out.
Tones everything down a little bit.
And then I just want a couple 101s here because these are terms I always hear about. What is Amaro? What is Fernet? What is Campari?
So these are all bitter. So let's break down the actual recipe. Juniper, heavy spice. Campari, heavy bitter. So think wood bark. Think some sort of very bitter flavor profile. Sweet vermouth is this almost caramel sweetness in the middle of the palate. It's not quite caramel, but it is sweet.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And all sugar.
So you have three different components now. You got spice, bitter, sweet. And then all those come together and create this kind of quintessential insider cocktail. What we're going to talk about in a couple future episodes is we're going to do variations of Negronis. There was a variation called the Boulevardier that was created by some expat living in France. I don't know if he created it, but it was named after his magazine. That is bourbon based. That might be the best way for you to ease into a Negroni is the sweetness from the bourbon comes in contact or, balances with the sweetness of the sweet vermouth, tones all of that Campari bitterness down.
Okay.
Then you can play around from there. You don't have to use Campari. You don't have to use sweet vermouth. You can do a white Negroni, which we're going to do in a future episode, which you change the spirit from gin to either tequila or mezcal. I love mezcal. And
usually when this happens, and then I ended up in Mexico. I decided to just put mezcal in it. I woke up and I was in Mexico.
I woke up in an Uber decanting a wine on the way to a restaurant.
Watch the speed bumps. I've got a decanter.
Well, hey, you guys, why don't we hit the Amaro for our next episode? Maybe Steve can explain that for our next episode with the Negroni variation.
Yeah.
Can we
you know what?
drink? Let me see that sucker.
Let's see that drink again.
It's beautiful.
Ooh.
I mean,
That's pretty.
I think I'm gonna have another one of these today.
I do love the orange peel in there. It does kind of just excites me, the look of it. What would I eat with that?
Traditionally, this I always have post dinner. This is like my after dinner cocktail.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've always had it at like a happy hour, so I feel like there's been charcuterie involved.
You could do happy hour and dive straight into charcuterie and cheeses. Yes.
Okay.
It's like that's just like that's just like his bread and butter pitch, a little fastball over the middle.
I mean,
just some cheeses, some meats, some potted meats.
Yes, rillettes, duck rillettes. I mean, come on.
With Negroni, that's what you'd eat with that.
Well, traditionally I have these post dinner, but
post-dinner.
To Ryan's point, happy hour. There's no reason why you couldn't have these with a really nice assortment of appetizers, cheeses, meats, duck rillette, blah blah blah, pate, even fried, anything fried. I would stay away from any fish appetizers. This would just overpower it.
Yeah.
The bitter and the spice from the gin, but there's a lot of things you can do. Start as a post dinner cocktail.
Cool.
Work from there.
Thank you, Steve, for Negronis. We're
You're
gonna do some more Negronis.
Yeah.
So if you guys are watching this right now, we should have some other videos posted on this shortly as well. So with more Negronis to come, let's wrap up this episode of Eat This, Drink That. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Ali. See you soon.
See you guys.